Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Silent Sequester podcast, the place where we're everything but silent. I am here, Isaiah, and I am here with my new panelist, Geneva, Dylan, Chanel, and Sasha, and we are here to talk some Sequester, episode 5. How did everyone feel about the episode?
I felt like it was an episode.
It was an episode.
Lots of ups and downs, definitely. I think there were good parts. I think there were chaotic parts. I think there were awful parts. But I think I enjoyed this episode overall more than the last one, I can say.
I agree.
Yeah, it felt more like fun Sequester almost, where I was like, yes, I can like get into it. I can have fun. You know, I definitely was bummed when Brent went home, but it was just like a fun Sequester, whereas like I think the last one and the one before felt a little bit more like too close to home. Yeah, and a little bit more frustrating. But this one was just like classic for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, we might as well just hop right into it. I mean, this was the shortest episode that we've gotten so far, actually, but personally for me, it was my favorite. Like, I don't know, I liked it, but all right, so we get into the episode, and obviously we get the recap of the last and everything, and it's actually going to show post-challenge. Jacob gets to go into the luxury row first. He actually finds this advantage for the first time in Sequester history. It's been used. It's called the Battle Pass. And basically it's like a diamond power veto, and if he or someone that he doesn't want to get chosen for the battle match gets chosen, he can negate that basically and choose the replacement. And honestly, it's a really strong power, and it's actually very convenient because the same box that he found it in, if he didn't pick that, Spencer was going to pick that box and he would have had it. So how do you guys feel about the battle pass as an advantage?
I think it's great.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's powerful, but not because there aren't any LOSs. I think it's good. Like, to me, it almost takes a place of an LOS. Like, you would play, like, a lot of folks ended up playing their LOSs for a battle match pick instead of necessarily like when they get voted out. So I think to me it's pretty similar to that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool because you can kind of like switch yourself out with someone who's like a threat or whatever, or like you could throw someone under the bus that way as a way to get rid of them and be like, well, you're not, or like you could replace yourself with them, or you could just like be like, no, I don't like this, and then kind of just throw someone else in there and they're not expecting it. Yeah. So you could get rid of them that way and they're not going to come back at you. And then in turn, you either protect yourself or you protect someone else, and that person you protect could also be like, oh, I owe you one. You just saved my butt by doing that. You know what I mean? So, you know, it has a lot of power behind it.
I like it. And the first thing that's great about it is it offers a difference between the LOS and it gives it something different, because the LOS could potentially be used for a battle match or it could be used for a vote. What I think is so interesting about it is that you get to pick both of the people that duel, correct?
Yeah. No, I think
just one person.
No, just one.
So if it's like you, and then you're like, no, I don't want it to be me. I want it to be so-and-so. So it's like you get to switch somebody, essentially.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's really powerful, because then you could put two people you want gone against each other. That'd be fucking great. But this is still pretty cool. That, like, you can save yourself from a battle. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been waiting for someone to pick that box specifically for the last several episodes. So it's like, thank you, Jacob. So,
now, there's actually an interesting question from Douglas. I'll put on the screen. So you're saying, how should Spencer use what he knows about the luxury road to his advantage? That's actually really interesting. I was thinking about that as well, because we saw last episode that Josh and Natalie, like, they compared notes basically. They didn't really talk to Jacob this episode, and they still haven't spoken to Spencer about it. So I don't know what they're leaning towards for that. Like, I don't know if they're going to try to bring all the people who've been in Luxury Row together, or if they're just going to try to keep it with just those two and then just get the other two out. I don't know. How do you guys think you should be using this information?
I mean, he is up a creek without a paddle, so he needs to use it as again and yeah, just first needs to build relationships. Number one, because again, this like I know we'll get to it, but we'll talk about it later where he kind of does this whole like cult leader, everyone follow me situation. But I think like he needs to again build some relationships. So I hope that he uses it to, do that. Plus Josh, Jacob, Natalie, and yeah, those three, sorry. Have been in that space. And I think those three are pretty good players. Like they're set up in good ways. So it would really help him to be with them, I think.
Yeah. Also, he could have really used it this round to throw it off him too, because essentially every single pair had a potential of having an LOS.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have literally just been like, listen, I've been here twice. I haven't gotten anything. I think there's 2 advantages and they're out there. So it has to be one of these 3 that have it. So if you want to flush it out now, you need to vote for one of these 3, right? I guess Brendan and Marcelo would be the only ones.
Yeah,
so it's like basically you could have voted for the other 2 because one of them had. You could have technically probably voted for Josh and Jacob because probably one of them is most likely to have one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he could have used it in that way and been like, I'm telling you this information. I'm going to tell you to vote for this one. Please don't throw the other one on me. Throw it on this person, something like that. But yeah, he could have definitely used that to his advantage and be like, I know for sure one of these people have it. So like, you're most likely that Josh and Jacob have it.
Exactly. But Spencer is just not a good player. And I made a tweet earlier today where I was like, I don't understand rooting for an underdog just because they're the underdog. And I saw a lot of people in the live chat. I saw a lot of people in the comment section. They're like, oh my God, Spencer is going to win the whole game. Spencer, I love you. Like he actually was a member of the Jonas Brothers. And I just didn't get it because like no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade, Spencer, you suck. And if this was not a battle situation where, I mean, congrats, you beat the 45-year-old. Like, I'm so impressed. Oh my God. But if it wasn't a battle situation, you would have been gone so long ago. And if he was smart, he would have leveraged that information that I didn't get an advantage 2 times. But so odds are Natalie, Josh, and or Jacob have it. So he needs to do something.
And why not throw them under the bus, right? He came out guns blazing. I'm going for you, Brendan. Or no, sorry, you and Marcelo, blah, 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 because I don't like Marcelo, whatever he said.
Yeah.
But then why don't you also say, and actually, I have more information. So if you're willing to stay loyal to me, because Billy, I think, would have really appreciated it. I think that's the kind of player Billy is, where if Billy heard that Josh, her allegedly number 1, number 2, now that Muna's back, ally is holding something against her, I think that would have started another avalanche that I don't know that Josh, maybe I think Josh is a good enough player, but he could have figured it out. But I think that would have given at least some cushion. My God.
Plant the seeds of distrust. Like, that's how you win the game. Like, what was he saying? Perception is reality. Some fucking buzzwords that he heard on Survivor Big Brother, which, like, please. But, like, the way you really win the game is by being subtle and causing people to distrust each other just with little things. Like, maybe a side eye or a little comment someone made. Like, make people not trust each other, or else you're going in the bottom every fucking time. And honestly, he deserved it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that Spencer is really processing what's going on. Because when I'm thinking about it, he probably didn't think, oh, wait, Jacob went in there. Maybe he picked the same box that I did. Sorry, I don't know what just happened to me. But I think one thing that Spencer needs to realize that competitions cannot win you this game. This is a social strategy game.
Yeah.
And with Sequester, you need jury votes. You need people who are backing you. And even at the end of the episode, like he was basically like, Brent, I'm gonna need you on the jury to convince people to vote for me. But it's like you have to foster those relationships in this game. You can't just Like, you can't just keep winning and hope that's going to do something for you. But yeah, I don't know. I think Spencer isn't really processing what's going on in the game and taking what he knows and using that information to his advantage.
Like, goodbye, please. Go convince the jury. Like, fuck off, for real.
And especially when the people in the jury don't like you, right? Like, especially a Rachel, like that it's not even that like you beat him, you know? Like, I think it'd be so different if he just like, hey, it's a, you know, just a shitty situation. Like, here we go, sucks, whatever. But like, it was just the way they all went into these battle matches and, you know, just all of that. I bet the jury has such a sour taste in their mouth. And Muna kind of told us that too. So, so that's why, again, I'm just so confused how folks aren't using Luxury Road to their advantage, especially when I'm assuming most of these people probably saw Survivor. So, you know, like, and they've seen this twist in a version before. So to me, it's like you already, and you know, folks have probably talked about it then, like blah, blah, blah. So like, to me, it's like, it's not even just about Sequester. Like, if you're understanding of reality shows in general, you would see that, you know, this is like any currency is worth it. And this is like huge.
Yeah, yes. I wonder if there's paranoia that if someone someone exposes it who doesn't have an advantage, that people will come for them and think that they're just, you know, saying it to get the target off of them.
That's why you need to be the first one. That's why you need to be the first one, because you're the honest one, and then it makes everyone else look sneaky about it. Yeah, straight up.
I think if I'm Josh and I'm sharing the information with people that's not them, maybe I'd give it to like a Billy. Maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely a Billy. So that trust is there with them, right?
Build some trust, for fuck's sake. Like, make some actual allies. Like, who is your ally right now, Jacob? Like, Jacob doesn't give a fuck. He voted you into the bottom, didn't he? Like,
and that's what I want to ask Spencer. Like, at this point, who do you think is your ally? Like, honestly, not in like a shady way. I just want to know, because I think that might help us think through his game a little, because besides Katie, right, like that was his maybe person that was kind of willing to take him a little bit. Maybe Brent would, but you know, only as a shield, right? Not like actually as someone that in a relationship.
Well, this is what puzzled me from the episode. Was that Spencer was targeting Brendan, and I'm pretty sure a couple episodes he made a final 2 with Brendan, right?
Yeah, so I just like the fuckboy brigade, the final 2.
And even if it wasn't genuine to Brendan, like it seemed like Spencer was about it. So I'm just like, why are you calling out your supposed final 2? You're burning even more bridges. Like, this isn't helping you. So I'm just really confused with his like game right now. It's not. It's just not making sense to me right now.
Like, I think thinking of it in a perspective of him, probably, this is my assumption. I'm thinking, because this game is like a week long. How many days have they been in so far? Like, what, like 3? 4? So he's probably just like, I don't know. And it's unfortunate because I think that there was actually an opening here. We're going to talk about it later, where I think Brendan really wanted to like make something with him and Jacob, but then like we said, there's not a lot of downtime here. So right when the challenge started, they just jumped in it and he just threw someone's name out there. And I mean, that wasn't a good move either. Well, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I don't know. This out of all the episodes so far, I think this was Spencer's weakest in terms of social game. And he's relying on his comp prowess, but like it really depends on like if he ends up there, he really needs to sit next to someone who's either equally unlikable or just hasn't been playing a good game. And right now, I think everyone has like at least a case. So he has an uphill battle for sure. Like, I don't know.
So I'm reading some of these tweets that some of the players have made. I'm like, I'm sorry, he's not winning. Good. There's no it's just no fucking sorry. Like, there's no way. Oh my god.
We'll see.
Watch him win, and then people are gonna clip this and just tweet you.
Oh my god. I'm already. Oh my god.
Just remember, everyone. This
You
was
can-
shot in 2020, which we know wasn't
Yes.
the best year. So
So I wouldn't be surprised. It's the last little turd that
Exactly.
they have to give from the shitstorm.
Oh my god, Dylan, I love you.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible for him to win every
No.
single battle match.
Mm-mm.
So I think eventually he's gonna go. I don't know if it's gonna be next or it's gonna be in a
Again,
few weeks.
Who
But
cares if he wins every
Yeah.
battle match?
Honestly,
We're not a top-
Who gives a fuck?
straight up, I think he's going to get vote unless the twist benefits. Well, we'll get into that. If he gets in again, it's so obvious he's just going to pull Muna in. And
Yeah,
well, you know what? Let me stop. We're going to get into that.
he's
Um,
gonna pull Muna.
We're getting off track. So let me start going down because we just stuck here
Let's
forever.
get through this episode.
I know. Let's come
So-
back. Muna's back, right?
Yeah. So we get a side of what happened with the return competition, and we see the result of Jay West screaming with the ticket in his hand and the Moon on the ground. We find out that Muna, as we suspected, is the one who won the return competition.
Yeah.
And Jay West also gave his ticket to Muna, which was very nice.
I knew he would do that if it was that
Yeah.
case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it made the most sense.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
I'm
would've been
glad
such a
he did
dick
it.
move if he, it would have been such
Like,
a dick
what
move.
do you need it for? Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Brent.
A souvenir.
Or anyone, random person that I didn't work with at all.
Yeah.
Like that would be so random.
Yeah, because they're almost become a team at that point.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's like someone from my team,
Exactly.
right, needs to
Right.
win.
And
But you know what?
it seems like the jury's close too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is that Muna literally only got voted out the night before this.
Mm.
And literally all those rounds that happened with Shireen and Rachel were at like 3 a.m.
How
That's
crazy
really
And then they
is
crazy.
had
that?
it at like
Uh,
7 a.m. The balloon.
It's all that. It's
Yeah.
all.
Oh, they
got
would have
the
hated me.
insider
I would have been like, I'm tired. Can we end this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
So she
I
barely
popped
had
a
time to
balloon.
process what happened when she got
Yeah.
voted out. I mean, lost, with the battle match. And then
Mhm.
she just basically came back in the next morning.
That's crazy.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. So like now I see why they were so crazy last episode. Because they're like they went through all that and they're like, oh, like what the
You're
heck?
just so
All right.
tired.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
fuck with a tired motherfucker. I'm
I would be
probably worse.
crying.
I'm probably worse when I'm tired than when I'm drunk.
Yeah, 100%.
Like completely. There's a reason why they say driving tired is worse than driving drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I
It
believe
was-
it.
Mm-mm.
So,
Don't do either.
Tired all around.
Yeah, don't do either.
Both are bad. Both are
Please, not me endorsing drunk driving. Don't.
Oh, Dylan, no.
Cancel Dylan.
Podcast
Stop.
title Sequester, do not
I'll go
support
join
drunk
Spencer.
driving. Don't listen to this man.
We do not support
Um,
impaired driving of any kind.
No, we don't. So we go to the next day and we're getting the results. And basically, first we have to see the players find out that Jacob and Spencer's coming back. We see the insights of some players. We see Natalie is hoping that Rachel and Spencer come back because she threw Shireen under the bus, and since she voted Jacob, although she thinks that if Jacob comes back, she can do damage control and fix it, she'd rather Rachel and Spencer come in. Marcelo is hoping Jacob also comes back because that's his number one, that's his ride or die. They're, as far as we know at this moment, are looking out for each other. And then the house eventually finds out that those two come back, and Brendan's happy because he wants to formulate an alliance with these two as like these super shields so no one looks at him. And he wants the bigger targets to stick together so they don't get singled out. You also see Jacob do this thing where like he points at everyone. He's like, all right, if you're happy for me to come back, raise your hand. And everyone throws their hand. And he's like, they're full of crap. Like, I don't, yeah. So that's what happens over there. Billy's like actually upset because Spencer's here. She wants Spencer gone. And that's another one of her allies. Like if you think about it, like Geneva said, all three of her allies went out the same exact day.
three
Like,
in a row.
I'd be pissed,
I would be.
But lastly, Brent was happy that they came back because Spencer's a huge target and they'll take the target off his back. And people will be focusing on him. So
Sad.
yeah, poetic justice was kind of crazy.
I'm not gonna lie. If Spencer came back, I would have been happy too because I know he's gonna get voted off, and I know he's not gonna pick me for the battle match. So I'd be like, "Woohoo! Come on back!" Like, I'm gonna vote you off again.
And they
So
did.
Yes.
So the house basically finds out directly after that Muna's coming back into the game, and there were so many mixed feelings. Billy was ecstatic, like she was so happy, like publicly.
Yeah.
She did not care. I mean, like her allies just all went out, so I'd be happy too. And then Jacob was like very iffy because their last interaction, it was not good. They fought publicly in front of everyone. So, but Muna has a big speech basically calling Spencer Nick Jonas and saying that she's coming after him. And then she also claims that the entire jury doesn't give credit to anyone's moves because even though they've all voted Spencer every time, it doesn't matter because Spencer's taking them out. But at the same time, other than like maybe Katie, the jury doesn't really respect Spencer's game. So, right now, for everyone in the game, it doesn't look good for them at all. And basically, she's implying, start playing the game, change it up because this ain't working. So that's going on over there. How do you guys feel about Muna's little speech?
I enjoyed it.
It was great. But I think that also tells us because of the period of time between when Muna lost, with the battle match and came back into the game, she had a lot going through her head and she just let it all out there. And I think it was great. I think it was entertaining. I know, of course, Spencer was very opposed to it. He felt like Muna was making it like a man versus woman thing about him targeting women specifically. And he basically was saying, oh, I'm just targeting people, like who I essentially look in the eye and then they don't want to work with me. It's not anything about, gender, that sort of thing. But I still question it and I'm so confused because I'm like, honestly, why don't you drag the two-time winner, Jacob Jones, who betrayed you, into a battle match?
And who literally will drop you quicker than a hot potato if it was you.
Every time.
He did drop him.
Exactly. And
that's what's so funny. Like,
no, and this is why I think I get even more pissed by folks that are like, don't make it a man versus woman thing. He's only picked people, that are at the top, like blah, 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 whatever. But I want to say he told these women to their faces, I think you're weak. That's number one. And then secondly, he also keeps picking the people that don't, that are telling him to his face, hey, I'm not working with you. But then he's calling out Jacob. Who did you vote for? Oh, actually, I work with them too. So why is there a double standard, right? Like, it's the enemy versus the person that keeps snaking you. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, it's BS to say that it's not about that they're women and he doesn't think they're weak.
Let me tell you, he 1000% is dragging them because they're women. And I'll tell you exactly why. Firstly, when he was making those threats, if I go in the battle match, I'm taking the weak ones with me. Who did he say was weak? Shireen and Rachel. He looked them dead in the eye. He said the same shit to Muna as well. And this is also, we're not seeing everything. But then when he goes to the diary room, it's like, oh, well, they were betraying me, yada, 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 whatever. And it feels very much like you're trying to cover it up. And I see people on Twitter trying to make the argument that it's actually, it's actually misogynistic to say that it's a man versus woman thing or whatever. Nobody is saying that the women are weak or that by dragging them, it's a weak move. What they're saying is that it's weak of him to assume I'm going to take these women in with me because they'll be easy to beat.
He's implying it by what he's doing.
Yes.
And
he's implying it by what he's doing.
And that's the mentality he has. And if he doesn't get it, then that means it's an unconscious bias. But I don't really give a fuck. Either way, it's a bias. Look at who you dragged. The first round you dragged Muna. Okay, you had a blow up with her. I can kind of get it. But then the second round you dragged Natalie, who openly campaigned for Brendan to go home. Where was the strategy? And then you changed it up to Shireen, who's out here saying that she wants to work with you and being upfront with you. It's like, and then you've got the other ones that are playing scared. Like, why didn't you drag Brendan? And
Shireen, I feel like I get that she voted against him. Yeah. And I want to say, I think he could have gotten her to kind of figure it out. versus like these other players that literally don't care about him. Like to me, she seems like the player that maybe is like the only person that's kind of willing to like go across the table and really talk to everyone versus almost everyone else that are kind of set in their ways because they've played Sequester, right? They've like everyone knows each other, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, those people are gonna drop you and they don't give two shits about you, but he's still cozying up to them and just hoping that they'll eventually see that he matters and that he's important. And it's just
it's crazy. Yeah, it's
so
like a comfort
funny.
zone. It's like a comfort zone, right? Like that's probably the people he's used to working with, the people he feels more comfortable with. He has to go outside of his comfort zone and work with different kinds of allies. And it's just like, oh, well, I have to keep working with these people. But really, they're the ones who are wrecking it for you. They literally are doing it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I was talking to, what's his name? I think his name is, it's Homo Watanabe Eric.
Oh, Eric.
Eric.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love Eric.
that's his username.
Shout out to Eric.
And like I've been trying to explain this for a while, but before Sequester and before there was this new wave of people, a very diverse wave of people, a lot more female players, minority players. There was a huge racism problem in the org community that people didn't talk about. And when I say there was a racism problem, I mean hosts were not casting minority players. I remember hearing the argument all the time, oh, there aren't enough Black org players. There aren't enough minority org players. That's why we don't cast them. Same thing with women. Same thing with older players. And when I started hosting, it was easy pickings. There were so many minority org players and Black org players and older org players that wanted to play but never got an opportunity. And players like Spencer, and I know Spencer's been in the org community for a very long time, and he's one of the bigger name people. There's like this crowd of people that are like big names, quote unquote, that act like they've been on fucking Survivor, like they're the baddest bitches on the planet.
Yes.
Exactly. And honestly, I stopped playing orcs because I didn't want to deal with them. That's the whole reason why I host my own, because I don't want to fuck with them. And anytime I've hosted any of those people in my game, they expected Twist to go their way. They expected to run the game. Anytime they were met with opposition, they immediately lost interest in the game because they were like, this is not what I'm used to. And players like Spencer, and I'm not trying to throw shit on you so hard. I'm just high, so I don't really give a fuck. But players like Spencer are used to things being handed to them into the games because they're younger, attractive, white boys, white girls. And if you look at the org community and the big names before Sequester, you'll notice they all, for the most part, look the same, like Chad's and Vanessa's. So, and I think he fits in that category. So that's why I don't think he's understanding it, because he's used to people letting him go in games. So,
well,
that's my
and
little TED talk.
not just games, in life, right? Like
life too, yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like, listen, I'm Asian, so there's a lot of like privilege that comes with being a model minority, and things like that. So it's not just like white folks, but it's really important to understand that when in life you're not really like moving through life with so many hurdles, just by being, right? Like not even by doing anything, just by yourself and your being. Like it's hard to then. It's like almost the opposite, right? Is what is happening to him and players like him. It isn't just him. I want to make that clear.
No, yeah.
They
100%.
like, to them, it's like what is it called? Equality is oppression when you're used to being the privileged person, and that's exactly the problem.
Exactly, and like, fuck. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh my god. Well, a good example of this would be last night in the comments. I remember everyone was like, Muna's so cocky, Muna's so arrogant. But then you would cut to a thing of Brendan, like talking about how he's the best player in the world or whatever. And it's like, y'all are calling Muna arrogant and cocky and shit. But then there's like love for Brendan. And I see that happening in the org community as well. You see these white male players or these white girl players that are like young and attractive, and the hosts want to fuck them. In fact, that there's so many fucking sexual things that go on in the org community that I could talk about. But oh my god, it's ridiculous. Host cast people they want to fuck. It's crazy. But you see people like them getting praise, and then I remember again with I Love Money, a lot of these specifically Black women that came into the game, Janae especially, you know her, Chanel. Most of the time when they speak their mind or they try to be a strategist, they're called fucking aggressive and ghetto. It's like really weird. And I think people, when they're judging players and they're criticizing players or praising players, think about that shit and think about how you're talking differently of people that act the
Really,
same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And women of color, especially Black women, you know, they have to play twice as hard and play two different games within the same game.
Yeah.
And I think I even like have experienced that within Sequester, where I think people perceived that I was going to maybe act a certain way, and I was completely the opposite. And so I'm not, you know, I'm being myself, and I'm not trying to fit into, you know, certain stereotypes and things like that. One thing I just did want to read was, I think we kind of addressed it, but I at least wanted to quote Muna specifically, because she did tweet this morning about her speech, and she did say that she thinks it's important for her to make this clear. Her statement is not in reference to women's capabilities. Baby, we are powerful. It is to the pattern that I've seen in the perception of who it is they believe they can be in a battle, and the people they were only open to choosing because of it.
Yeah.
That to me is weak. It is possible to speak the truth while also owning my power. Much love. So I just wanted to say that because she said that, and I thought that was
Well
a
said.
great statement from her. So.
Well said.
And Muna's amazing for that reason. In the game, is she my favorite player? No. But what I love about her is I love her personality. I love what she stands for. And the bitch knows what she's talking about. And I'm just gonna say it on that. Like, every time she speaks, I'm amazed by the things that she says. And I can tell why she's a poet. Like, for real.
So articulate.
And that's why I
So
need
awesome.
folks, and that's why we need folks that don't, you know, move through the world the same way, move through these games the same way, to like take a step back and just like not say stuff about things they don't understand. Like it's totally different if we were sitting here, you know, talking about, oh, why did Muna, you know, her gameplay, right? But it actually hasn't been about her gameplay for so long. Like the comments, the way folks are addressing her versus Spencer is here saying 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. How is that not cocky, right? To me, it's the same thing. Like and that's fine too. Do that. Like, we're not saying that's a bad thing to do, but the point is that it's so hard, at least for me, when I see all these comments of folks that definitely, and obviously I'm making assumptions, but like to move, don't move through the world the same way that I do. Really being like, well, how can there be any oppression? I don't see it. And it's like, right, because you're not conditioned to see it. And that's why you're never going to see it, even in these games. And I know it's hard and it feels frustrating because you're like, everything's political. Oh my God, I just want to watch my games. But like, this is our life, even in the game, like Geneva said.
Yeah, it's a social strategy game, and games that are social experiments relate and reflect to life. And I think that's something people try to ignore and pull out of the game. Like, this is just a game. And it's like, there's so much more than that within the game. There's so many layers that, you know, come into place in this game. And I know a lot of people actually in the comments were giving Muna, I guess, or / production, a lot of criticism because she had so much power in this episode, which I'm sure is maybe something we'll talk more about. But I think one thing that people need to realize was that Jay West gave the LOS to Muna. Maybe if Jay West did not get the LOS, someone else could have gotten the LOS. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. There is no sort of, you know, manipulation. And then every single season, the person who comes back into the game has been safe, and there has been a round that centers around them, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Exactly. Like, where was the hate when Cameron had safety?
Yes.
When Hamza had safety, like, it was non-existent. So,
and that's the problem with, again, it's so great that so many folks are now tuning to Sequester, but it's also like, do a little bit of the homework. And I appreciate in the edit, they actually showed like, hey, here's what happened season 2. Here's what happened season 3. But I don't think like folks took a second to actually understand what happened, because that's just Sequester again. Like, and Brent says this a lot, right? Like, that's just Sequester. Get it, understand it. But like, to me, that's actually super normal. And I think Audrey said this, right? When she posted about folks should go over to Reddit and discuss it a little bit more, where she said that we're not giving Muna again enough credit because Jay West felt like their relationship was good enough, I think Jay West would have given it to anyone that went in that wasn't him. Because again, that's how the jury was. But Jay West gave it to her, and like, don't discount, her relationship
Social play
building
there.
with one
Mhm.
day or in a few hours, right? Because I'm assuming they're not getting to talk to each other either. So in whatever limited amount of time, she was able to create that relationship with him to where he gave her an LOS. So again, like, it's not production's fault she got the LOS. It's actually her not her privilege, her gameplay that got her the LOS. And I want to like change that narrative.
And don't even
Shut the fuck
forget,
up,
like,
Kanye
before they even went to jury, like they had an argument, like going into the jury house, and like they're good now. So
it's
you
just
know.
people cry rig all the time, and it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
like, unless Helen got pushed, like, stop crying rig. Seriously.
Also, at the same time, they literally, before they even said what she got, they said, listen, first season was this, second season is that, third season is going to be this. We are telling you right now that the person who goes in gets a bit of an advantage or gets to do this thing in the next round. So it's like, why are you surprised, even if you didn't watch the last 2 seasons, that this was going to happen? We literally just told you. We literally just told you.
It's not like Survivor where they changed the entire format of the fucking show just to save
But
Ben.
they just like change one thing and then they'll add it 3 years later.
Yeah,
exactly. Like,
but but my point is just that, again, like, if you're a new fan, as you should, like, not to gatekeep, because I don't want to be that person, but like, it's like, you have to comprehend like the bigger picture here, because again, it was just really frustrating to see like she got too much power, and it's like, but she didn't.
Also, the constant phrase that Sequester also uses is, we appreciate power. So we should be embracing the fact that Muna got all this power in this episode.
Exactly. Where was the complaining when like other people have been getting it? This is not exactly new in Sequester for a twist to happen and shake. That's the whole point of the show. Are you watching the show?
Right. But I think it's because, also just referring to the comments, they're not really filming the jury. So the jury is spending time together. That's probably the only instance where there's probably actually a lot of interaction in comparison to everybody else who is sequestered separately. But yeah, I mean, I guess it would be good to see that. But also, I think part of the thing is that Sequester, the production, is not a huge staff. So they are not in multiple places at once. And probably during this time, they were either asleep or they were probably filming confessionals. So that's probably why maybe we didn't see that extensive backstory. But Jay West has said a lot on Twitter that like he, Katie, and Muna especially, they became really close in the jury house, and they're like sisters to him. So I guess based off of that it didn't really surprise me too much.
Also, Brent said each one of them had a handler, right? So again, like, I think the jury probably only had one handler for all of them. So that's, I think, another reason where no one was being filmed out on like off hours. I think not even the players, because they were all sequestered, which is just, if this is your first time watching, like, which is new, because last season, and I think the season before, like, we got a little bit of like social time that was recorded. So I think COVID might have also caused a lot of like that time, because you can only have so much staff.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things watching Survivor and Big Brother is looking for little hints, little pieces of context. And I think that this is the reason why I know these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because if you were to watch the episodes, you should be able to tell that Katie and Muna and Jay West got along great. Look at them on the jury. They're all laughing, and they're like, they were like falling into each other, like hugging each other, kind of like while they were laughing. That shows camaraderie. And like, if you really pay attention, you'll notice like, another good example is when Shireen was like touching Spencer, like being like, please don't do this. And he was like, or whatever the fuck he did. Like, you could tell that they probably weren't getting along too well before that, or he doesn't like her. Like, body language is a good thing to look for. And I think that that's something important to notice, because we don't have all of the footage, Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. It would have been important to at least have maybe shown why Jay West specifically gave it, but I guess it was more of a context clues thing.
Yeah.
But I guess like within that, I feel like probably whoever was like on the jury, they probably were going to give it to somebody who was coming back into the game because they're already going to be at a disadvantage and will be targeted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so real quick, let's just let's talk about this question Chappelle had, and then we can get back into the challenge and everything. So real quick, so I saw it was a good question. So Chappelle said, should they be trying to take Spencer to the end since Muna says that the jury doesn't respect him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an easy win right there. At the same time, I feel like a lot of the players could care less about any of that and just don't they just don't want to play with him anymore. They don't respect his game. They just don't want him there. And but there's a few who will take him there. Like Jacob would probably take him there, you know.
Yeah, I think he'll
yeah.
get third.
Yeah, I think he'll go pretty
high. Yeah, I can see him getting
They'll
dragged.
drag him. They did that to Jake in season 2, and he was like the one getting voted in every round. So I could see him getting third.
Also, I would say it's not just so you have to keep him in like the conversation, because I think as soon as he's seen as the GOAT and then he's kind of not brought into the battle matches anymore, I think he can spin it. I don't know if he's that good of a player, but he could spin it. Like, they got scared of me. And second, jury might forget, right? Like, they're like, oh, there's a new villain that showed up that we don't like, right? Like, if I get eliminated and I didn't go up against Spencer, I'm now talking about Marcelo. I don't know. So now my memory is like on Marcelo and the spotlight's on him being the villain instead of Spencer. So that's also another thing where you almost have to like keep him, like giving him the spotlight, because he's just like giving him more rope, I will say.
I don't think they'll forget though, Sasha, to be honest, because one, the days are so short, and two, he basically took out like a good majority of the jury, right? Or even if he didn't, he was like responsible for them being there, I guess. I don't know. I don't think they'll forget. It's just too. I think if it was a longer game, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But because it's so short, like there's no way they're forgetting. Like literally, you saw that at the end of this episode that they're not gonna forget.
Yeah.
He's got just so bad gameplay. Like, even if he played a little good, like, I would maybe be willing. But it's like, on top of the shitty behavior, you also have shitty strategy. Like, oh my god, you were able to rope some fucking planks. Like, congratulations, but I'm not giving you $2,500 for that.
And actually, and I felt like, it got to a point where like Brent looked like he was actually, could have won that challenge. So, I don't know. I guess the Spencer's win wasn't necessarily, I guess, overwhelming.
No.
Wait, this show was 10 days long?
It was like
a week, right?
A week.
A week.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say 10 days. God damn.
All right. So let's just hop into this challenge. This was a pretty straightforward challenge, so it shouldn't be too much time actually covering it. But I mean, we'll talk about everything. So we basically find out that this twist is pairs. Is basically everyone's going to be in pairs. Muna is not only, I think she's immune this round, right?
Yeah.
So she's immune, but she has the ability to basically put everyone in pairs this round. And basically there's going to be 4 of them, and you just have to vote for a pair. Everyone's going to be voting individually. And basically whichever pair gets the most vote will be battling each other. So basically this is the first round of season that eliminates any kind of like ability to like threaten someone to get dragged into the bottom or something like that. Like, you can't do that this round. So basically Muna gives her reasonings to why she selects all these people. Like, tells Brent and Spencer that she thinks it's going to be a puzzle comp and she wants Spencer gone. So she thinks Brent can beat him. I'll put my thoughts on that in a second. She puts Billy and Natalie because she thinks that that's going to be the most equal opportunity for both of them to win the challenge. And then they put Josh and Jacob because... Well, Josh and Jacob and Brendan Marcella because she thinks that those people aren't going to go anywhere and they just want to get Spencer and Brent up there. Now, her main objective is really for Spencer and Brent to be voted out, but mainly Brent. And like I get it, but I feel like in Muna's position, she really needs allies coming into this round. And I think Brent, although he's unpredictable, I felt like that could have been a potential person because I don't see Brent really focusing on Muna at any point. That's just me. But I feel like even if that was the case, if she wanted Spencer going, she really should have just put him up against like a Brendan
or something.
And Brendan for sure, because I think Jacob wouldn't mind taking Brendan now. There's no one really. Brendan is really the only person in the house that doesn't have like a solidified alliance.
Yeah.
Other than like Spencer, obviously.
Which Spencer burned that bridge.
Yeah.
Her main priority should have been getting Spencer out. And no shade. And I'm not trying to say that because Brent is older that he necessarily will suck at the challenges. It's just Brent doesn't give off a very like he'll understand how to win this challenge. Like the first puzzle, and this is not me trying to shade you, Brent, but the first puzzle, I don't think he would have won that. What was the second challenge?
The matching game.
The throwing the balls.
Oh,
I don't think he would have won that. And like this, I was like, there's no fucking way he's gonna win this. So I feel like she should have been trying to get Spencer because Spencer is most definitely going to pull her in a battle match again because he thinks he can beat her. Because he already did in the
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna drag the fuck out of her. So she should have put Brendan. Just because he's also like one of the like I guess physical threats, I guess, because he's tall and he's a boy.
But
I don't know.
But that's why I think Brendan is such a good player that he didn't get put with Spencer when they're obviously looks wise, right, are pretty similar. And I think maybe I'm wrong, but I thought she also said, Brent, I hope you take out Spencer, but maybe I'm like completely wrong on that.
I think she did.
Yeah, no, I think her intention was definitely for Spencer to go, but Spencer was like, Muna, are you sure you want me out, or do you really want Brent out? Because this might not be a smart idea for you to do.
I think it was just like I think she just wanted a guarantee that they would go. And I think at this point, like most of the other people are pretty like likable or seem to be tied to someone. So whereas Brent, I don't know if he's really tied to anyone at this point. He's kind of just like floating around, kind of talking to everyone, doing his own thing. So I think she just wanted to guarantee that Spencer would go. And I think this seemed like her best bet to get him down there. Now winning, I don't think she maybe thought that far ahead. Or also, the challenges are random again.
Exactly.
So you have like it's just like a crapshoot. Like you have no idea if he can win or not.
But
you don't
Brendan,
know.
She also didn't really have a connection to Brendan either. And I know for a fact that Shireen and Rachel were probably talking about how Brendan is someone that needs to go. If they did, I don't know if they had the time to talk or not. That's the thing. But like Sasha was saying, it shows that Brendan does know what he's doing, and he's playing a good game.
Yeah, the chat makes sense too, because they're saying like basically like Brent was never trying to target Muna, and Brendan doesn't do anything for her. So.
But I mean, and this is no shade, but they were the two cockroaches of the game, you know, like they were like a fucking STD. You couldn't get rid of them. So
I don't know. I feel like
one would go.
I feel like even with Brent, it's the same thing where I think he's more likable than Spencer, but I don't know that he also wins with this jury, right? Like almost the same thing that we're using for Spencer, right? Like the same reasoning. I feel like Brent, right, with how loud he is and with just how he's kind of rubbing people the wrong way. Even in this episode, just asking people to leave the room instead of him grabbing one person and leaving with them. Yeah. Like, so to me, it's like these little things that I feel like are also not helping Brent. And Brent is not necessarily, Brent is lesser of a comp threat than Spencer. So for that reason, I agree, but I think it's also Monday morning quarterbacking a little. I think in that minute, she probably had like, it was very much like, who do I care? Like, which pair do I just want to leave? And if both of them go, I'm fine. Thank you.
Either one go.
Right. And I think since he knew like a lot of people didn't like Brent, or like obviously there were people there who were like, I would prefer Brent to stay. Like, I like Brent, but like,
Yeah.
I think he was also rubbing people the wrong way. And we really saw this in this episode. Honestly, the fact that Spencer and Brent were voted for, I think was completely justified.
Mhm.
Just like the way they were responding to potentially being the vote, telling people in front of, each other saying, I'm voting you. Like, that's just not going to help your case and help you get votes. And when there is no, fear of going into a battle match or being pulled in,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to vote you out because I can.
Yeah.
And it's not going to, really come back to bite me.
He said, "Let's vote for Brendan." It's a Brendan.
What the
let
hell
me get to
was
that.
that?
Let me get to
Oh
that
my
real quick. So
God.
yeah, he calls everyone but Muna, because I mean it makes sense. She just called him out, like whatever. And he basically was like, all right, I think the attempt was smart, but what he needed to do is isolate at least some pairs. Like he could have had
Exactly.
To be honest, as
Mhm.
much as it would have been really like, and especially since he was just labeled a misogynist, and then he to come after the only other female pair.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, that was probably his best play, was to come after Billy and Natalie. And if he would have done it, I wouldn't have liked it, and I would have been like, okay, well, here we go. But I would have understood it, because
But what would have had looked like, and maybe this is just completely wrong, but what would have it had looked like to say, like, y'all, I know I've been bad, like almost like an apology tour, but like a quick one to be like, I know, like, this is just like, awful. Like, I get it. Like, y'all have sent me in. I've learned my lesson, something like that. Even if it's fake, I don't care. Like, I've learned my lesson. Like, I want to work with you all. That's why I brought you 3 or you 4, specifically in this room. Like, what do you want to do? And then almost lead the horse to the water, right? Like, get them to kind of do what you want, but like, you have to show that it was their idea, right? That's like number one in getting someone to do what you want, is like planting the seed and getting them to do what you want. But it's fascinating that, like, to me, he didn't, like, you have to stop getting rattled, right? Like, at this point, where the pieces are. It's not like it's such a surprise that how am I getting voted in? They don't like you. So how do you not spend your night, really thinking about, I feel bad. Guys, like, I want to work with you all. Billy, what do you want to do? Josh, what do you, right? Like, point out these people that are on the bottom that he thinks are at the bottom, and like, be like, what do you need? Because it's fine at this point. I don't even want him. Like, fine, don't make up with Muna, whatever, but like, do something. Like, this, like, macho like, literally, because he's so tall, overpowering you. It's just not it. And like, you're not getting anything. You're no headway.
And this you go, Isaiah.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, and I've noticed since episode 2, like, he really just went off the rails almost, because I think at first people really like the Brendan, the Katie, like all that. Like, he had the foundation of Brent's, but then it seems like ever since episode 2, he's just been like this funk and like never really recovered from it.
Yeah.
Because I'll ask you guys a question, but before I even say that, I just think that maybe if he just slowed his roll a little bit, like, maybe, I don't know, like, he's a very impulsive player. So that leads me to the question, which is, do you think he should have had a group attempt like he did today, isolating some duos, or do you think that he should have had the type of approach like Marcella, where it's a bunch of one-on-one connections and then you just try to get people individually and see where their head's at? Because I personally don't think, especially with someone in his position, that he should have been the one pushing names, but he should have been trying to receive almost. Because honestly, I would have been feeding off of that Brent Billy feud that happened the last round, and then like magnify that.
Yeah,
exactly. Be like, are you gonna go for them because you fell out with them? But again, I think this circles back to his treatment in regular orgs and in life. And I'm sorry to really like pound the dirt on you. I'm actually not sorry, but like, I don't really hate to pound it on you, Spencer, but I think that people like him are used to coming into the game and having things handed to them and being able to say a name and people will just go with it because they think you're pretty, or they like you because you look like them. And the fact that he's not getting that here, because I'm sorry, people like Billy are not going to listen to you. They're not going to bow down to you. They're not going to give a fuck what you have to say. And I think the fact that it's not going that way when he's used to it being that way, it pisses him off. and he's going to keep doing it until it goes the way he wants it to go. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I just think he should have changed his game approach, and like you were saying, Isaiah, maybe he could have done the one-on-one or the duo meeting with pairs, because at the end of the day, it wasn't like votes were tethered, it wasn't like if you vote different ways, votes are canceled. Everyone has an individual vote. So I just think that instead of saying a name with the person right there, I think that there's definitely a better approach, or you could go to other people and be like, oh, what are you thinking? Like, what do you think we should do? What do you think's best for our game? Like, I'm open to doing what what you want. Like, I want to work with you. I just think that, like, I don't know if it's like in this times where he's in Sequester, he's not taking the time to really process that alone time to process what happened in the previous round and what he can do differently to give himself a better game position. Because I feel like he's approaching every round kind of the same. Yes. And it's just not giving him any progress. And like, unfortunately for him, like this is like the third time he's been voted out. So like he has to do something. He has to switch up his game somehow, some way, be more social and be more, sociable, interact, and like be willing to listen to people and get feedback, because right now this approach, it's not going to get him to the end of the game. People are probably going to, right now, the way it looks like people are just going to vote him out every round until he goes home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like a lot of the players are really into like genuine connections, and I don't think anyone's had an actual genuine connection with him since Katie, which was like the first round when you could tell that. Yeah, and that was that too. So it's like, I feel like if he actually like went into the round like trying to make genuine connections and just talk with people, it would kind of throw people off guard, and they'd be like, oh my God, like, I didn't expect this. Like, maybe he could like reel a couple people in.
I mean, and literally just say, I'm a number for you. Because to me, it's like, if you've watched even one Sequester mini, like, right, to me, the rule number one is you don't say a name. You just wait for the next person to say it. And then you kind of run with that, right? So again, and he's played them before. It's not like he's a new person, or like someone that's just like absolutely no idea what's going on. So that's why I feel like I'm harder on him, because better. You've seen minis, like you just know.
He's an org veteran. He hosts a fucking game, or at least he has. I don't know if he still does.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like he should absolutely know better. You're playing against people that, and by the way, most of the time the newer players are better than the old players anyway, but you're going against people that they just started playing games like probably only a couple months ago, and you're flopping this hard. Like, it's embarrassing.
I will say, I think another missed opportunity he had was, I think he really let go of his grip on the whole Jacob bond that he was building up. Because I think last episode definitely showed that like he was getting there. Like, I think like Jacob felt like he was like running out of options. He was like, all right, Spencer's my key. And I think this episode, since he didn't really like reconnect with him or anything, I think that he really loosened his grip, and then Natalie took advantage of that. Because I think he even said it earlier, and I think Josh said it also later down the line. You're like, I don't really need him anymore. It's like I can fix my situation. I think I'm good. I feel like if he should have forced himself to like stay around the people perceived of like being in good spots. Because if he did that, then there's no real way of him like his name coming up. Like if he just it just been present and then like didn't talk as much. Like imagine if that instead of him throwing Brendan's name out in this round, someone like I forget, I think it was Josh or Brent or something, throws out Billy and Natalie's name early when they're not there, and then that could have been the vote, like straight up.
This kind of rolled into and snowballed into something. And it was you're right, Isaiah. It was actually Josh had said basically, well, Muna's back now, and I've been kind of riding with Spencer, but now I don't really need him because I can solidify a connection with Muna. And that's probably exactly what Jacob landed on with Natalie, because he's saying, oh, well, with Natalie, I've solidified this connection with her. And we know, he's like, no tea, no shade. If I bring her to the end, they're not voting for her. So like now I got this close bond with her. And then he also has that like tight, like, well, you voted for me last round, and did you not see me protect you when they were trying to drag you in? So now, like, you owe me, but we're good. You know what I mean? So he just has this way of bringing it in. So it's like, they were just using him until this point. And, they're done with him. They could care less. They
Yeah.
all
And-
voted for him in the votes too.
Mhm.
And
And-
Natalie actually likes him and she wanted him back. So to me,
Mhm.
again, what happened there? Because, and maybe they talked and they didn't show it to us in the edit, but again, like, then ride that coattail and have Natalie smooth things over with Billy for you, right? Like, again, I think there are a few ways that he, could have kind of gotten an in, like Brent did a few episodes ago, right? Like, he also royally flamed, but then like kind of came back a little with like, building a little bit of relationships and being a little bit more humble. But again, and I know like we're talking a lot about Spencer, but Brent went home, and
Yeah.
this is also that moment where Brent, while Spencer's holding court, Brent immediately is like, I can't do this. I'm out. And again, I was like, but why? Like, just why?
And I think it's a really good point to bring up that he was talking about how perception's reality. Yeah, that's true. But something that people don't really talk about is players like Kara Kay from David versus Goliath. That's just like the first example I can think of. People wonder why they stick around for so long or why they don't get blindsided. People will keep you around and be loyal to you if you serve a purpose to them. And you need to make sure that you don't become expendable, because the second you're expendable to somebody, they'll fucking get rid of you without a hesitation.
Yep.
And he's not doing a good job of that. He's being expendable because at the end of the day, they're like, great, you have a vote, but we don't give a fuck. We're voting you at the bottom. And that's that.
So we basically spoke about a lot of this, but I'll just run through it real quick. So basically, like we said, Spencer holds court, throws Brendan's name in front of him, and Brendan's like, okay. Like Brendan's been trying to push this whole jabroni thing, but he says it again anyway.
I know.
Oh my god, he's trying to sell t-shirts. Like, please stop.
But they're like, yeah, I need, basically when that happened, everyone was like, well, this is a lost cause, and everyone left. Real quick, because we actually didn't talk about this, Marcelo actually stays back during this and actually builds his bond up back with Muna, and basically tells her that her and Jacob need to make up, and basically they need to just work together again. And Muna is aware that that Marcelo is playing like this like slithery game where he's just kind of like in everyone's ear, and she's like, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't care as long as I know what he's doing. And like, I need allies, so like, why
She
not?
basically said it was like her game. She's like, he's basically playing like me, working with everyone in the house.
So Brendan asked Spencer, I mean, well, like I said, we already talked about this, so let's not even talk about that. So basically we move on, and after Brent leaves the big room, he pulls Natalie aside, and basically he's trying to see where her head's at, and if if she's willing to vote anyone that's not him and Spencer. And she basically says that she is afraid that Brent and him, basically Brent or Spencer, have an LOS or something like that. It's surprising that she didn't bring up Luxury Row in this, by the way. I mean, it's kind of like alluding to it almost, because it's like, all right, Brent's never been there, so you have some knowledge to lead you to think that Spencer has it. But anyway, so she basically says that she would be willing to do Jacob and Josh if a backup. So I mean, that's there, and Brent is going to try to run with that. He explains that if since he's matched with the worst social player in the house, that he needs to just do what he has to do, because you can't hold the battle over someone's head. Like, this is a very, honestly, watching this episode, it's kind of like the moment I saw the pairing, I'm like, well, like, do we really need to see it? Like, no one really like, no one took this round seriously, because they were like, everyone at the end of the day were like, we're going to vote those two. So
even
it's like,
after the grouping and that thing happened, I was like, well, this is over. I don't know why we need any of this talk in between now. Like, it's gonna be done in 5 minutes.
I mean, I think though it was interesting to like, even though it was like an obvious pairing that would be targeted, I think this episode and like the nuances that we saw within the 15-minute round really showed us like it made perfect sense for them all to basically vote Brent and Spencer, because they were honestly doing too much and like saying a lot of things that they probably shouldn't have been saying. And then Brent had all this, paranoia with the whole LOS thing where he's like, I'm not telling any of you if I have an LOS. And then, you know, some people are like, no, we generally want to help you and we want to know like if you have one. And he's like, I'm not telling you. So then it's like, I don't know. Then some people will be like, do you have it? Do you have not? I don't know. I was very, very confused. I guess like, you know, I guess he wants people maybe think he might have one so they won't vote him. But I just don't know if that really necessarily helped him. I think, you know, I think that led more people to feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to vote him. Honestly, I think that's
I think
he's talking in riddles while he's on the block.
And I think Marcelo really tried. To me, that was, and I don't know if it was genuine, but to me, it felt genuine that Marcelo really was like, no, like, I want to work with you. Like, let's talk through this a little bit. But to me, I don't know. To me, it was just like he wasn't even trying, because one, Spencer, like at that point, Spencer couldn't have talked about Luxury Row because it would have screwed him more.
Yeah.
But Natalie knows what's going on. Josh knows what's going on. So those two are like, obviously, this man don't have a LOS. Like he doesn't have shit. So to me, that's already 4 people, right? That are like technically going to call you out on your bluff. And Jacob too. So that's where, to me, I was just like, and he doesn't know about it, so I can't fault him about Luxury Row. But you know, there's that's another layer of the game that you have to unfortunately calculate, is like, is your lie worth it? And to me, like, his lie wasn't worth it because it actually lost him even a little bit of whatever Marcelo was about to maybe give.
Well, because even Marcelo, I think at one point in like the laundry room was like, you know, I don't want Brent to go at all. Like I don't want him to go. I want him, you know, to win the battle match. So I think he was generally trying to help him, but I think at the end, I think it just caused, I think, more chaos, honestly.
To be honest with you, if I was in the round and I saw this shitty of gameplay from those two, I would have been like, I would have taken my partner and I would have been like, hey, let's vote for, I don't know, Brendan and Jacob, or who, I don't remember what the pairs were, but I would have been like, let's vote one of these other actual threats into the bottom, because these two are so
just
like,
they're just gonna burn themselves up in the end. There's no way.
Exactly. So, and this was
and
what
you want to take one to the anyway, because no way you're gonna win against them.
Wait, this was final 8. Did Muna have a partner?
No, she was immune.
So she was immune, but she also had a vote, which was also interesting. So I think,
how did the pairs work then? If this was 8 people,
4 pairs and then Muna was by herself. So it's 9.
Oh, was this final 9?
9.
Yeah.
They were saying they're going to the final 8. Yeah.
Why did I think it was 7?
It's interesting that you say that, because now that I think about it, like we said earlier, she did Josh and Jacob, and then Marcelo and Brendan last. But she really did that so those two didn't like target the other group too. But it's like, now that I think about that, she has the knowledge that Jacob and Marcelo are like never going to vote against each other. So it's like, it's like she really could have put Spencer and Brendan up together if she she really.
But she wanted to work. No, but she came back wanting to work with Jacob, right? Like, because her confessional was that I want to work with him. Jacob's confessional was a little bit more that like, oh, I don't trust her anymore. So that's another reason why I think that caused that clouded her judgment, basically. Because I think she actually wants to work with Jacob, and she will, I'm sure, work with him. But Jacob just doesn't have her best interest at heart anymore.
Jacob is so excited to get rid of Muna.
I know.
Disgusting.
I'm like, Jacob, I love you, but now I want Muna to get you out first.
Yeah.
I want her to get you out so bad, or just throw that LOS right in your face, because I don't understand what your vendetta is.
Really funny is if he played his advantage and tried to put Muna in, and then like Muna played an LOS.
Oh god, I want that to happen so bad.
Oh man, she really could do
that. So good if it was like, okay, I'm gonna take out, say, like a Marcelo or whatever, and I'm gonna put in Muna. Joke's on you, LOS, blah blah blah. Like, I just want it to end, to it all explode.
It might all
snakiness, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I bet Josh actually comes out again a winner, because because he'll still keep his.
I know.
So that's why it's funny, because I think, again, in this crossfire, I don't know if we're gonna talk about it, but like Josh deserves, like kudos. Like you need an ally like Josh in the game. Like I tweeted that because he is just like the IQ in the game where he was like, I'm not voting out another woman. These are my allies, right? Like, and again, it wasn't just about women. Like I think he really has good game IQ where he knows where the power is. And before this last double eviction, or elimination, sorry, those two were actually in the power position, Rachel and Shireen. So like that's where it's almost like I just want, like I need him to make it very far, and I'm glad he has an LOS because of it, because I think he's actually being strategic. Even when him and Muna, him and Marcelo were talking and they're both snaking each other. Perfection.
Josh is somebody that I would like to work with because number one, he's straightforward and he's not like plotting behind you or scheming behind you. He's just real and he thinks rational. And I think even when he was saying, like, people were like, oh, you're redirecting the LOS away from you. I thought what he was saying was something I would say, where it's like, we need to like stop worrying about the LOS and stop throwing votes. Just fucking vote. And you know what? If something happens, at least it takes like that out the game. And you can tell that he's not problematic because of who he aligns with. And like, I think that he's the kind of person that is comfortable associating with people that who may not look like him, that may not talk like him. He's just focused purely on strategy. And and I wish that there were more people like that put into these games, because it's a lot more fun to watch different kinds of people working with each other. That's what the whole point is, to watch how different kinds of people interact with each other. And I like
especially Sequester, right? Like that's where I think like why I love Sequester and why it's really great to watch it. And Josh has only played one mini, right? Before, I think. Yeah. So to me, that's where it's almost like these are the players that we've been clamoring for, where it's like, we don't care if they're white, whatever. But the point is that like, we want folks to like come together and be like work across all of that, because him and Billy like together, it's just, I live for it. And I like, I really so bad want them to be final too, just because they're so likable. They're so unlikely of a pair. And I will say, like, seeing him as like, just like first impressions, I would be like, oh my God, another, white dude that is just gonna, be with the Brendans of the world and the Spencers of the world. But like, I just want to take a moment also to appreciate that and like that kind of a player, because that's what the casting we've been asking for, right? On all of these shows.
He had the best two quotes, I think, of the whole episode. The first one being when he was talking to Marcella. Marcella was like, I really like you. I really like your gameplay. I think we're running the whole game. And he just goes, no, you're not running the game. You're running scared. And then the second one was like when it was like Spencer down there and he was like, oh, finally, the only way we can get him down with a man is tethering him. And I was like, you had the best quotes of this entire episode.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
And that's why the white people in the comment section need to shut the fuck up talking about how, oh, it's anti-white. You hate the white people. Like, no, we just don't like problematic people. Like,
yeah, it's problematic people. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, they think I'm racist, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying you're racist. I'm saying you're problematic. I didn't straight up say you're a racist.
Agreed.
I'm just saying the things, your intentions and the things that you say are problematic. It's basically supporting it.
And if there's multiple people calling you on it, like, maybe it's true. Maybe you need to listen to a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the sound of that. But I do wonder though, I just want to quickly say, like, I do wonder though, because a couple people felt like Josh was deflecting, with whatever the next twist, will that come into play, the LOS? Will people try to get him to flush what he might have? And especially since, Natalie knows about Luxury Row, will she like pin a target on Josh because of that sort of suspicion?
Yeah, I was wondering that piece too, where like, right, he's branded as King LOS, right? Like that's why he kind of went into the you got eliminated in the first place. And then if he, again, I will say, like, I don't know if like I would think about it in that moment, but if King LOS is telling me not to worry about it, why? Why should I not worry?
Yeah.
Like, no. You know, like that's where I would be, because he's not super forward. He's kind of in the background where he should be for now. And then it's either that he found an LOS in the house, but if I'm not even seeing any LOSs in the house, you know, you got to start putting 2 and 2 together, but it's very hard. And I don't blame them for not knowing. But that's just an interesting piece. I agree, Geneva. I also thought, like, I was like, wait, did they catch that? I doubt it. I don't think I would either.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so just to skim through some more stuff, basically makes long story short, we see Muna and Billy. They're celebrating that they can work together and they think that they can do some damage. And then Brendan walks in and he is so ready to throw Spencer and Brent under the bus. And right when he's about to do it, guess who walks in the door? It's Spencer and Brent. And they kick out Billy and Muna. So he's like, oh my god. And they're basically like, all right, we got Natalie and we can do Jacob and Josh. And Brendan was like, okay, but like I kind of don't trust you guys because you threw my name out. And Brent was like, yeah, why did you do that? Stop being stupid. This entire episode, Brent is literally just like, yeah, he has a bad social game. And Spencer's like, yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Like,
and then he slapped him. That was so
Yeah.
funny.
That was hilarious.
Brent is literally the PR guy for Spencer in this round. Like, Brent is like, no, what my client meant was, no. This is what he actually said. When he wanted to say, I got it. I'm telling you.
I don't
But
know
like
if y'all ever saw Drag Race All Stars, the first one, but this was giving me very Pandora Box and Mimi I'm First together, when you had Mimi I'm First fighting with everybody and sucking in the challenge, and then you just had Pandora the whole time. Was like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
And I do think that I think it was Brendan made a very good point. Like, you know, you need big targets in the game. Why are you targeting me? I'm a big target for you all. You need to keep me. And that's the thing. They of anybody, Brent and Spencer need shields in this game because clearly, like, they're the big, glaring targets. So I just feel like that targeting Brendan might not necessarily have been, at least outright publicly, might have not been the best move. Maybe if they did it more secretly, that would have been a different story.
And Brent knew that, right? Like, Brent immediately knew that. To me, it's like, because again, I think that's like level 1 of, these games is like, yeah, you keep the bigger shield.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where, again, like, I want to say, like, I think Brent started the round pretty okay and then ended it where he was like, oh, okay, I'm going in, let me build relationships when I come back. So I think the start and the end was nice, but the middle was just, he also was a hot mess where I hate when folks kick other people out of the room that they want to be in when they just walk in. Like, I'm just, no, that's hell no from me.
And to me, this highlights, I was actually, before I got on here, I was on the phone with my good friend Julia, who I'm actually going to visit in Asheville next weekend, which is, I'm really excited for that. But we were talking about how different it is playing these games online versus playing them, like, because I was talking with her about going on Survivor, and I was like, you should go do it. And you forget that you have the real aspect of being with people, like, in person. Like, when you're in an org, online, you can just shut the laptop if someone bothers you. Like, just be like, fuck them, I'll talk to them later, but I'll keep them around because they're annoying, but I don't have to deal with them. In real life, if people don't like you and they feel hostile with you being around them, or like they just don't want to fucking deal with you, they'll get rid of you just for their own sanity, you know? So that makes me believe that people just don't like either of them, that they're
for sure.
just get rid of them. And that's no shade, it's just that's what I gather.
And there was definitely a lot of tension between, like, Billy and Brent, and just like Brent not saying, oh, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't know, it's just like all this stuff, and I'm just like, this is not helping your case. And Brent got to a point where he's like, oh, we don't need Billy's vote, it doesn't matter,
yelling doesn't help.
But to me, every vote matters. I feel like in Sequester, like, I get maybe it's like, oh, it's a lost cause, but it's also like, I don't feel like you were in this necessarily bad of a position with Billy. I mean, I guess you're just making it worse, and really things should, I feel like, I don't know. I just didn't necessarily like that approach, because it's like, you already know you're in a bad position because you're with Spencer.
Mhm.
And
So Billy actually said that, Geneva, right? Like Billy asked, "Do you want me to leave?" That's an immediately, "Oh no, actually, you know what? Let's be part of this conversation." Because to me, that maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's not what Billy meant. But to me, if someone's saying that, that means they maybe want to work with me, or at least want to be in the room with me. That means they don't like me. They can stand me that much. So that's also where I felt like it was a missed opportunity, and it rubbed me the wrong way because just Billy's tone felt like Billy was trying to kind of get some conversation going.
Ugh.
Yep.
It's just weird, and that's another thing that people fault. Like they disregard votes. Like that was basically you saying, "Billy, I don't need your vote. Fuck you."
Mhm.
Like
yeah.
one of the reasons why I think some of the best duo in Big Brother history, I don't think it was Chilltown. I think it's Dick and Danielle. And the reason why is that they were such a huge target as a pair that the whole season. I mean, it's father-daughter, but Zach was this big guy that he was a loser. He only talked about comic books. The house didn't really like him. He was an outsider. And Dick specifically took the time to get to know him, make him feel good, bring him in as a number as his allies were getting picked off. That partnership that he had with Zach, it got him and Danielle to the end, because there was many times Zach had the HOH at final 6. He took out Jessica instead of them. Final 5, he could have used the veto and forced Dick to take Danielle out. And there was that one person, that one vote, and then in the week Dick was supposed to go home, that vote, it secured him a spot further. So it's actually a big mistake and really foolish to disregard even one person, because every person matters. At the end of the day, they all have the same power and voice that you have. One vote.
And make them feel dumb. Be like, wow, they're being so nice to me. But this is again where they'd be like, oh, they're being fake to me. But that's where you have to be nice to folks from the start, because then you got to make them feel bad for voting you out.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
No, not Derek and Cody. I'm sorry. Them running a fucking alliance off of testosterone, please. Like
I like Derek though, I will say. But not anymore, maybe, but I like him.
In Big Brother 16.
When he saw my tweet,
thank you, Geneva.
There you go.
He called me some name. I don't remember what he called me, but he was like, this fucking attention seeker. He doesn't know what he's talking about, because I exposed him and Nicole for her whole little pre-gaming shenanigans. He was so pressed. It was hilarious.
What did you all think about in this episode? Brent calling out Jacob for talking to Muna. I thought that whole scene was chaotic.
Oh, that's just a last-ditch effort to throw it again. I feel like a lot of the stuff he was doing was just like last-ditch efforts, which, I mean, to be fair, like his partner really screwed him over.
Yeah.
I think he was just trying anything and everything to kind of try to protect himself. So he was like, hey, look at this. Jacob's connected with another person in the house that's come back. Yeah. So, but it didn't really stick. Like, I think people know that they're probably going to talk to each other because they had a whole argument. Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, so I think that they were. It was a really good attempt, and I think it was very close to being successful. But it was really the ugly part is, honestly, if they had this conversation in like almost any other room, I think it would have got away with it. But since he was doing it in this room. Like literally the first time, like throw Billy's name out. Oh, she's on the other side listening, and then you still talking loud. Throw Jacob's name out. Up, Jacob's on the other side listening. Like they should have just did it in another room at that point.
Yeah.
I think he was actually about to be like succeed with that. Honestly, like he was just very unlucky that someone was just listening on the other side of the door.
Yeah, I think if he was with anyone else, well, we know if he was with anyone else, it would have been fine, because last week, right, or 2 weeks ago, whatever, last episode, when he was tethered to someone else, that really saved him, which is why I think they they don't hate him as much. Like, I think he is savvy enough to do a little bit of like control, but like, as someone that talks very loud, like, you get in trouble. Like, it's the truth. And like, so like you have to be quiet, you have to be calm, or it's not going to work. So I think it really was, like Jorge said in the comments, like sinking ship. I agree. Like, I don't know that Brent had, he could do so much, but I think again, there's still a way to like build relationships and get people at least feel bad for you, if nothing else.
Yeah. And then I just, the part that was really funny was like, Brent was like, well, yelling doesn't help. And then Jacob was just like, isn't this the first time you've yelled at somebody? Yelling doesn't help.
I could not. Yelling doesn't help, but you've been yelling all season. Like,
have y'all ever watched, when we watch a TV or movies or whatever, TV shows, and we're just like, oh, but why didn't you say this? Like, this was the moment where I was like, wow, how just, what's the word? I don't know the right word,
ironic?
But or how just like satisfying was it to watch Jacob say that? I was like, yes, thank you. Thank you. I needed that.
That was so
You just yelled the whole last episode.
Took the words out of
for 20 minutes.
And then Muna was loving watching all of this happen.
I was Muna on the other side. I was like,
I would have grabbed the popcorn and been like, hee hee hee.
Yeah. Like, she didn't have to be a part of it. Nothing was on her hands, even if it went down. Like,
it was like every time I thought that, like, all right, maybe Brent and Spencer can like fix this. Wait, people are like spying on the doors, or like, oh, Spencer.
Everyone was everywhere. The group's so small now. They're all just together.
Like, honestly, I feel like they had the potential at the beginning of this to come out safe. And then it was just like one after another, like everything that could have went wrong. Like they were so unlucky this round, honestly.
Let's target Brendan. No, let's target Jacob.
You know when you just have a giant brain fart and you're like, let's target my only ally.
Like, it's like, where they literally threw every single duo's name out and the word just got around and there was just
they were just happened to be there. Like like when I was writing out the notes or whatever, and it was like, okay, so they were like, let's throw in Billy and Natalie, and it's like, Billy's right behind the door. Okay, let's throw in Jacob. Jacob's right here. Let's not throw in Jacob. I was like, this is like, are they literally just telling them to be at the door? Because like, this is just too crazy.
To be honest,
just pick a target.
Another thing,
or just pick a target and stick to it.
Yeah, or don't. Do you think the cameraman like messed that up for them? Because if you remember, the door was open and then Brendan closed the door. I don't know if like they saw the other cameraman on the other side of the door or something. They're like, "What's going on down here?" That could have been a mistake. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know.
It's just like y'all are at the bottom of the food chain, and y'all are the ones that are throwing out like the names. Like what?
Yeah, and then there were a lot of instances where I guess Brent would go up to someone and be like, "Okay, disagree that you're not going to vote us and we won't expose your vote." So that was also interesting, but then I feel like those people's votes were exposed anyway. So
yeah.
And what's the point of exposing my vote? I voted for you, and guess what? You went in. So you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're gonna bring me in anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a really bad pairing having these two together. Like having Brent trying to save Spencer and Spencer trying to save Brent is kind of like hiring the pilot of the Hindenburg disaster to come captain the Titanic. Like it's not gonna work either way. The ship's already sinking, like.
Yeah.
This was the equivalent of putting two batteries in the remote in the same exact direction. Hoping
that too.
Yeah.
So good.
So literally we spoke about everything, not in chronological order, but you know what? That's okay. Literally there's one last thing I want to bring up and then we can get to the challenge results, because I mean we literally spoke about everything. And this was the interesting one. It was when Billy and Natalie were actually reconnecting. And basically Billy just wanted an explanation on what happened, because if you guys remember, Natalie threw Billy under the bus and all this other stuff. And basically, she tried to explain. She said she was afraid, and she basically explained how angry she was about her telling her, like, you need to play hard and yada, yada, yada. Basically, they both lead the conversation, agreeing to work together. But it was very interesting because in both of their confessionals, they both said that they both want to take each other out in Final Six.
Yeah, specifically Final Six, which I'm like, well, I can't wait for Final Six now because
that's 2 rounds.
It's going to be very entertaining.
One is definitely going to go at Final Six with this foreshadowing, like, or at least go in a battle match, like 100%.
Yeah, do they go in a battle match with each other? Now that's the
Oh
That'd be
my
crazy.
gosh.
Wow.
That was insane.
Well,
That's
you
like
would need to
Cameron
hope
versus
for Spencer
Erica.
to actually be gone first, but then
Good point.
but I don't know if that's happening. We'll see.
maybe he'll win safety somehow. Maybe there's another mini challenge. No, I'm just kidding.
They'll come give him super safety.
Oh no, maybe he'll win luxury row or something. Yeah, that's how.
Oh my god.
Never. At this rate, never.
Is there
Never.
in luxury row any left?
I think it's all done now.
I
It's
think it was
So
just
it's
the
going-
two. The
It's
two.
going right now.
Right, and that's what I didn't understand because I slowed this down when I was watching, and
Yeah.
Sequester Bot said like the only ways to win advantage is to compare notes, which makes sense, or visit luxury row. So that's why I couldn't understand what that meant.
That
I
was a
hope they
bad
don't
explanation,
recycle.
honestly. So basically, what they explained at the first time they did Luxury Row in episode 2. So basically, there's only 2 advantages to find. You
Right.
know, Josh has LOS, Jacob has the battle pass. There's nothing else to find currently, but if one of them use their idol, then
Right.
or whatever they have, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be another battle pass. If there is, that's OP as fuck. But LOS wise, at least, when it's used, then it will be replenished and it will be back into the luxury row. But as long as those 2 are still in the game, there's nothing else to find. So
Honestly,
Got
I
it.
hope, I
So it
hope
must have
not.
just been stock, kind
Yeah,
of.
it was just
No.
because people kept picking the wrong box and no one picked the one, on
Yeah.
Yeah, it would've
their
been gone by
left.
now.
So that's kind of why it was like, okay, finally, now we have seen the 2 that were selected.
Mhm.
If they need to recycle LOSs, I'm not gonna be happy about it, but like fine. Like you can recycle it maybe once or twice. But like one of my least favorite things about Survivor today is that if 2 idols get played, even if one was found like on day 1 on like the asshole beach, like they could play it while they're on the douchebag beach. And it's like, why is this going back in circulation? Like because look what happened to Sari. Like too much of exactly. It's like too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
what they started doing is they did those joint tribals or like those double tribals, and
Yeah.
they're like, this will fix it. But
Mhm.
anyway, this isn't Survivor. This is Sequester.
Sequ- I actually find it really fun when a bunch of LOSs get played on Sequester because I think like people really get screwed because there's only so many people, there's only so many maneuvers, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh great, now I have to name every single person I'm working with. Got it. So I find it personally funny, but I don't think it's like good for the game.
I actually have a friend who's been eliminated by like 2 LOSs being played
Oh my
twice.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'll never
Exactly.
forget there was a mini, not this year. It was like before when it was like the first year that she was doing minis. And I remember they were doing an elimination based off of only the people in the room. And one person got the votes, but then someone was like, I got an LOS. So then they were like, okay, fuck, now we need to pick a new person. Now we need to revote. And then they picked another person. They're like, I have an LOS. So then they had to pick another person. And then the last person was like, I have an LOS too. So then there was only 2 people left to pick from. And then that one person went home.
So
It was
that
like-
that happened to me. I played a Zoom game and I should not have won I was trying to throw the HOH, but I won it like an idiot. Anyway, and yeah, I had to nominate people and everyone had an immunity idol. And then I ended up having to name like my alliance, and then people were so mad at me. Like people were like, I thought we were cool. What happened? And I was like,
terrible.
well,
I
we
literally
were,
ran
but-
out of names. I don't know what you want me to do.
Y'all
Yeah,
got
I
rid of
literally
the
was like,
shit,
I
though.
can't
there
nominate my
was a
friends.
modern mini that TR did host where people were gonna get dragged and like 3 consecutive LOSs were played.
Yeah.
It was insane. I was just like, oh my gosh. So it's very interesting when there are multiple advantages at once, but I do feel bad sometimes for the
Oh, of
people who get basically the short end of the stick in this situation.
Do y'all want to hear something really fucked though? Me and Isaiah were in a game like a month ago. It was sitting banks or whatever. He went out early, but me, Kira, and Sharonica, we had a 3-person alliance, and we got to final 5, and we were about to take out Pranay and Tommy, who were our last 2
Not
people
Pranay.
standing. I love Pranay, but that's what we saved them for last because we loved them. But what happened was that Tommy won immunity. And then the twist of Final 5 was that you had to vote for somebody that you had voted for previously. And Pranay had never been nominated, so we couldn't do Pranay. And then the only option was me because they all had voted to save me in the past, and that counted.
Oh,
So
not that.
I went home by default because nobody could vote
Right.
any other way. So that was I was gonna win. Like I had never felt more fucked than that because like it was kind of like they were forced to vote for me, and it was like.
No, it's painful. I agree. I just, as a viewer, I find it fun.
Mm.
Oh
But
no! As a viewer, it probably was
Look
hilarious.
at
100%
it. No, thank you.
no, I
As
still
a
think
gamer, it
it's
sucks. But
horrible when you're in the game because you're like,
thinking-
well, eliminate me at this point. Like, I don't
The
even
whole-
want to play.
the host loved it. I was like, Andre, I hate you, but he was like, oh my god, that was so great. I was.
I
like,
remember last season. I think it was Drew. He had no, it wasn't. Yeah, was it Drew? I don't know. But wherever the guy with no hair, he was bald. Anyway, he had to pick somebody, and he picked
Lex
the guy
Luthor.
named Drew.
Yeah.
And he had like an LOS. He's like, psych, I'm not going. And I totally forgot. I think he picked this team after that, but that's the only time I've seen that. Anyway, getting off topic. So going to the eviction, basically Spencer and Brent are eliminated, like everyone assumed, and Josh basically makes a comment about the only way to get him, was he had to be tethered to one. And it was, I felt bad for them low key because right after that happened, the whole jury just starts dying. Like Spencer's holding his fist out to like get a fist bump. And,
no.
Such a meme.
I was like, oof. But whatever. So basically Brent does the craziest speech I've ever seen.
oh my god.
He basically saying how he's not on the show for the money, but he's a messy player, but it wasn't realistic for him to get the money because of his archetype. He was basically here to get the hype of Sequester up for the visibility, and he says there's a lot of people who love him. They're watching the show for him, and he hopes that everyone else gains some clout, basically.
And people who love to hate him.
I
People love Luna now, and Brendan now, and
I gotta
Jacob
tell
now.
you, I'm so surprised that they aired that scene. Because I thought this was a PG or a kid-friendly show, but they just let Brent like stroke his dick for a whole 2-3 minutes. It was incredible to watch. I mean,
Dylan, I'm so excited for my head to get as big as Brent's one day that
Oh my
I can
God.
just
It
think
won't,
that this is a normal.
unfortunately. You're a woman of
I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry,
he had
my
a
head will
feeling
never
he was
get that
going.
big. Forever humble.
I guess he knew he was going, so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go out big, so I'm gonna take this opportunity and take the space. And so, you know what?
You
Brent,
do you, boo.
you do you, Brent. And
it was here.
it was. I mean, it was entertaining, but I'm like, if I were there, I probably would have been like, okay, like this is too
Honestly,
much.
at that point, I would have been like,
the people in the
You don't get my
game.
class, sorry.
I would have
I'm
been like, Brent, shut the fuck up.
he was
Like,
basically like, you are all worthless, and everyone is here
Oh
for
my
me.
God.
I made them all fall in love with you.
they
And
all
I'm
deserve
like,
a Nobel
you are
Peace
the reason
Prize
people
for being quiet.
stand.
Like,
And the editors did him so dirty because they played this like wacky music in the back. I'm like,
They always
It's
play
very
dirty
music.
oh,
But I'm like, there are people who know Jacob. Jacob's been on RHEP class of 2020.
Yeah.
So, he's very visible as well. People know Moon. Thousands of
Shireen.
people watch it. Shireen, of course, Survivor. But like that's what's like thousands of people watch Sequester. Like there are people who have maybe they don't have as many followers as you, but like they're people who people know. They're visible faces.
Yeah.
And like one thing I think that's been really cool about pandemic Sequester is even like myself, like I've gotten the chance to like interact with so many like reality television stars, and like
exactly.
so like there are people who've been on Survivor and Big Brother who know me, which is like weird.
Exactly.
So like I know that there are people who know all of them. So that was the only thing I was like, I get that some of them might get more visibility because there are some people who've only played 1 or 2 minis, but still, I don't know.
But I will obviously say the only reason I watched Sequester since season 2, I've been watching it since season 2, is because of Brent. I will 100% say that, like, no, like that's the honest truth. And like, and he made it more fun for sure, but like he's now not their only reason. If that, like
Mhm.
people graduated from him, if that makes sense. Like that's where I feel as a viewer. Where last season I was watching it because I just loved Sequester and I loved like the show Audrey came up with, right? And like, and then the minis as well. I think I just knew about it because I was already watching everything. So I will say I think he brought a lot of viewers there, but like I think we stayed for the content, not necessarily just for Brent.
It's
Mhm.
just
Right.
really, it's like just a really shitty thing to say. You're
Yeah.
really, you're shitting on
You're
not
shitting
only
on all the
players,
players.
but
Yeah.
you're also shitting on production. You're also low key
Yeah.
shitting on production because you're like, I'm the
The
only
show is
one.
nothing. Except
It's just like he knew he was going home more than likely, and that speech was like farting in an elevator and then getting off on the next floor. Like
Oh my
it was
God.
just such a mean.
I mean,
thing to
again,
do.
like I will say he brought it to RHAP too, so like
Mhm.
Yeah.
want to give him his props.
No,
but
and
Yeah.
absolutely, and
deserves
many people
props.
commented
Yeah.
under the YouTube video or tweeted, they're like, I only have been watching the season because of Brent, but I'll continue to watch. And so he
Yeah.
did bring people, but I also think telling the people you're playing with
No,
that
that's
they
shitty.
keep me for ratings and things like that, that's obvious. I feel like that's things okay that you keep to yourself and not necessarily tell
Beyond
the
the
other.
rating.
Saying
I would be like, fuck
conventional.
you, I'll vote you off in a second. Like, I don't care. I'm
But
not the
Muno will
rating
bring the
specialist.
ratings. I know
Yeah.
people who stopped watching who are now watching again, so
Yeah.
you doesn't have
Exactly.
to worry.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. I obviously, as a viewer, I think it's freaking hilarious because I was like, I just can't believe someone again had the gall to say that. Because even if I thought it, like, when technically Shireen on Survivor is the biggest get right of that cast, so but I just find it so funny because I would never say that, or if I would say it, I don't think I would say, and now Brendan, people love you because of this.
Because of
When he pointed them all out, I was like, oh my god. I'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
He's a
Like,
character for sure. Like,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
No,
that's
Brent
really-
definitely brought the entertainment.
Jacob's like reaction was like me. It was like, why are we clapping for this person right now?
I
Like,
wouldn't
what
clap.
the
I
Don't
was
clap
like,
for anyone else's
I-
speeches.
and Jacob clapped too, and Jacob was like, "This is like I hate people being fake, but now you're clapping." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
But-
I literally would have just stood there like with my mouth open. Like I wouldn't even I'd just be like
I would have been like,
Wow.
I would have been like, we didn't ask for a book. Like, can we get this moving? Like,
anyways, what votes? Can you just get your votes?
Right?
Yeah.
I
Moving
would have
on.
been like, and I vote. You want to expose my vote? Please.
Sorry, people
do it.
don't know me.
I would've been like,
I
y'all
don't
can't
care.
battle me,
Moving
so I
on.
don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we're here for the $2,500. We're not here for the fame. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay.
The best part about this was after they revealed the votes, because they revealed Natalie, Marcelo, and Brendan, they all said that they voted him. And it was funny because basically Natalie was like, yeah, it was more so a vote against Spencer. Marcelo was like, yeah, I vote both of you. And then Brendan was like, yeah, it was a vote because, Spencer. And then Brendan, no, he was like, I voted both of you. And Brent was like, oh, okay, yeah. So basically I was out because of my partner. And Brendan was like, no, it was a vote for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
love
that was
that.
funny
No,
as
I
shit.
But he, was
Vote for
also,
you
but he
too.
also kind of said it in a way where he's like, how do you think I voted like after your partner called me out in front of a group of people?
He was like,
Yeah.
And so it's like,
You
well,
too, though.
obviously, it's like, I'm going to vote you if you're like throwing my name out there. Otherwise, I might go.
And why expose
such a-
him? It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Like of all the people, Brendan.
Mhm.
Maybe because, like I said, goes back to like maybe Brendan really is a better, like, good player because they really think that he has their back, and then he just doing all this snake shit.
I think he wants it. I think Spencer just desperately wants that bro moment, that bro.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's just not gonna get it. And I think it's just so-
I mean, he could have had it, but he chose not to. He chose to target him. So, like, he wasn't helping himself.
like, what is
So basically, they go in and like we said earlier, the competition, you throw a rope on these wooden boards. It was a competition. It was physical for the first time. And Spencer won. And Brent did not go out bitter. He was like, good luck. And yeah, that's the episode. But that's the episode we got for this week. It was honestly, it was my favorite because it didn't feel too rushed. And I mean, I don't think any of them were rushed, but there was a lot more scrambling going on because of the challenges. But this time, I felt like it was very like this is the first time a lot of deals were being solidified. We really got a good understanding of where people's trust laid with other individuals. So I enjoyed it a lot. So finally, what we're going to do is update our tier list. First time 2021.
Grease the roof.
Year new tier list.
We're going to add.
Get my girl out of that jury.
I'm gonna put her here for now, but she's going.
We'll change.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, how do you guys feel about Jacob? I'm not gonna lie. I'm very close to. I might put him back up like a low A because I think he really recovered from the damage that he was in last round. Like
I think the Natalie move was good here. Solidifying the Natalie, and also he has Muna, and I think Muna being back is like a good ally for him because she thinks that they're good, but really they're not. And then he still has the Marcelo thing, so I think he's still the most connected person.
And he has that advantage.
And he has that advantage. Yeah. So I would also move him up.
All right, so back to A. It's low. You're on thin ice still.
Yeah.
We'll see. You're good.
You're on the cusp.
Yep.
A minus.
So Brendan, I'm not going to lie. I think he should be dropped down. And I've been saying this for weeks now. I think Brendan, position-wise, is in such a good position, but people are really starting to
finding it out. They're finding it out.
Why didn't Natalie target him this week? I just thought about that.
I don't know.
Why didn't at this point? I think she's just trying to stay under the radar to the point where
why didn't Spencer go to her and be like, I know you were targeting, because she told him. Like, why didn't you try to push that to, like,
honestly, if I was her, I just wouldn't do it again because last time that almost ended up getting her in hot water. So she tried to make a move and it blew up in her face last time.
Charge. I just don't know
That's
why.
the thing. I don't think that Spencer's using the time between the rounds to really process what's going on and coming up with a game plan, like in a social sense. So I don't really think that those things could happen. It's just we're not seeing that from him yet. So like I hope we do see that from him moving forward. But
and Spencer could not have let that charge because he almost effed it up in the first place. So definitely not.
He should have done it differently. But
yeah, definitely 100%. He should have done it.
You could have jumped on, and it's like, why didn't you do that?
Yeah, totally. I would move him down to Isaiah, but maybe like a high C.
And I agree with that because also he doesn't really have any allies for no one's looking out for him. I'm really concerned about like if he doesn't get an ally that's genuine by next episode, he is in some trouble. Like there's I don't think it's good for him.
I think until Spencer stays, he's fine. That's why I don't know if I would put him at a C. But I agree 100% about the the ally issue. Like I just think that he's good at the game. That's why he's stayed this far without kind of touching the block. But I still think So like I understand the C, but like I think this episode was really good for him. But
you want to give him a low B?
I mean, I guess a B minus might make more sense just because I don't think Brennan did anything in this episode specifically to lower his position. I think this is just, maybe our assumptions based on looking at the game, like, from a big perspective. But I don't think Brennan necessarily did anything
to lower
the game to lower him significantly. But I do think that he might be in trouble unless he actually formulates some bonds.
Okay. So how do we feel about Marcelo? Honestly, I've also been saying this for a while. I think the way he positions himself in the game is extremely impressive. And I think I don't see any way anyone really takes him out. And I feel like it's a huge possibility that like he could be a high priority for anyone to take to the end because like he doesn't seem like a big threat. My fear for him, though, is that if he does get to the end and he hasn't made any big public moves by that time that like I don't think he's going to get any votes. But
Oh,
up
100% he won't.
up till like now, like I think he's been doing well. So
No, I think he's in a good
Yeah.
position. He hasn't put any blood on his hands.
mhm.
You know, he's made people feel sorry for him, like that
Yeah.
one round when he got nominated. He, you know, he was chatting with Muna this round. Like he did very good communication this round and very good like you know, strategy where he was like talking to Muna, like, oh, I'm so happy you're back. And then he talked to Josh because he even said like when he was talking to Josh, like Josh usually keeps to himself a lot, right? Like he just kind of fly. Brendan said it. He was like, he's an anomaly. Like you don't really know what's on his mind. Whereas like I feel like Barcelo may have cracked that a little bit and like got into Josh's good side. So he's kind of like playing the field here. And then he's connected to Jacob, who's also very well connected. And Jacob's is like number one. So I think that's also keeping him up there as well. So I think he's actually playing a pretty good game. But I don't think if he got to the end, depending on who he's beside, I don't think he would win because it's like, what did you actually do to get here besides just like chill and throw votes?
It kind of gives me, and this is kind of insulting to Godfrey, but it kind of gives me Godfrey, Big Brother Canada, where he's playing a good game, but it's like it's not visible enough to where people will really respect it. It's kind of like Jessica last season, where she was really good at keeping herself in the good graces of people, and it got her to the end. To be honest, I think I would have given her the crown over Hunter last season. Sorry, not sorry. But I don't know. I can't tell if his game is good or not. Like,
I think he like the way he's playing. I think that when he gets to like final 6, that's where he really should start playing aggressive.
Yeah.
And if
I
he
think
does that,
I just think also the general challenge, like Muna brought up in this episode, is like people are voting out aren't going home. So right now it's like if we were at the end of the game and people were in final 2s or whatever, I feel like really the only thing that people can really argue is about battle matches because at this point it's like the only successful like vote in a sense was Brent and Spencer, but like even so, like the goal was to really, you know, get out Spencer, not Brent.
Yeah.
So it just seems like right now it isn't like there are some people who have kind of have moves, but I really feel like it's the end game that's going to be really important for this season.
And I can see why people aren't fans of the format, and this is kind of where the flaw comes in. Like a lot of players like Shireen and Billy and Muna have actually been punished for doing a good job in the game. Like their job has been to vote these fuckers out the game, and then what? Like they just come back in. What I like better is I like the vote out somebody and then that person picks 2 people for a battle. I'm personally more of a fan of that format because then you get rewarded for taking somebody out, but it keeps the strategy in there of having to maintain the relationship of the person that gets booted.
Yeah.
Right.
Like honestly, the format feels like to be successful, you have to be like honest like all the time because like why you get exposed, and then B, it's like you just have to be really good at competitions at this point. So I mean, I feel that.
Yeah, I think my suggestion is because obviously I think we know a huge component of this is because of COVID, and that kind of really affected how the format of the game.
Yeah,
I think maybe a way to balance it out is to have like elimination like vote rounds, like where when the person you vote to eliminate is eliminated, and then rounds that are like battle match rounds where it's like that it's going like the person you vote, they could potentially come back and they get to choose someone to compete against to come back in the game. Like I think maybe an alternation or something like that would be a good way to like not punish the social players, especially if you have a smaller cast, because I think that's
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just, I think that's just what's really disappointing is like, Shireen was playing pretty well. Like, Rachel was doing pretty well. Like all the, Muna. And then it's just because they lost a competition. And I feel like that's just kind of an, unfortunate circumstance. And even like bringing up an example of myself, I played in that 40-person private Winners at War. I lost the final 5 because of a competition.
Yeah.
Like I was just eliminated because I finished the competition last. And so it's like my social game meant nothing. or strategically meant nothing. And that's
There's
where I
a
think
happy medium, and I think you brought it up of having like it intervene. I know I hosted the holiday mini, which Isaiah won, and there was to that power, if you won the power, you got to choose. It was called Santa's Helper, and you got to choose who was naughty and nice, which was like who was safe and not. But you also got to choose whether the elimination was a battle, a duel, or it was a house vote. Most of the time they picked house vote, but you could have a challenge in the beginning where, and if you do this, Audrey, I expect some royalties, but you could have a challenge where the winner gets to pick whether it's an elimination round or whether it's a battle match round or it's a vote round. That way it gives some power to these players,
Or I would say actually that instead don't let them know which it is,
right? Or just let the production know, like production to let us know and be like, this we planned for this round to be a battle match round, but not necessarily. You don't necessarily have to let them know, and then Sequester bot at the end could be like, this is an elimination round or something, and then this person is actually eliminated. So you have to in your head plan for the potential of both happening, but you can't. I
just had an epiphany. What about, you remember how she does that twist with the red button and green button? What if at the beginning of each round they get the option, if you press red, battle match, if you press green, house vote, and then that will really show who is safe. If you feel like your social game is going to keep you in, do the house vote. But if you think you could be in danger and you need that battle match as a protection, then you could pick I don't remember what fucking button I said, but the other
whatever.
Button. Yeah. That would be good. See?
No, and that's exactly it. To me, it's like, because players like Brent, who heavily rely on I'm so weak, don't put me in, they're gender neutral, then they kind of have to flail and really build good relationships of not getting voted out. So that's why I think it's just a lot more fun, but I think there's a lot more strategy of not knowing.
Yeah. All right. By the way, so I'm guessing we're just keeping Marcel there, honestly. So Natalie, so I think Natalie fixed herself up. I don't think a lot of people like Brendan or Billy really hold a lot of resentment for what happened last round. She locked it back in with Jacob, but we do know that Billy might be coming for her final 6. But she's good with Josh, she's good with Jacob, and since she's good with Jacob, that's by extension you're going to be good with Marcelo. I don't think Spencer's coming for her at all, despite her voting her like twice. It'll be fine for her, and I think Muna's gonna I don't really think anyone's actively coming for Natalie unless you're like Billy.
No, not at all. And she's got that thing with Jacob too.
Exactly.
I wouldn't mind Natalie winning the game. I like her.
Yeah.
So where are we putting Natalie? Are we keeping her where she is, or are we moving her up?
So I want Natalie to come into her power a little bit more. Like
I was just gonna say,
because she herself tweeted that one of her friends called her like a shaking chihuahua, which I thought was really funny.
Billy pointed it out too.
Yeah. So I just find that to be really funny. But I think if in this last episode Natalie owned her power, I would actually move her up to a B. But I just feel like she's still a little scared, and rightfully so. I understand. But I feel like I want her to be like, right, this is gonna be my game, and Jacob, someone that's pretty well positioned, even when he goes into a battle match, is about me, at least for now. Then I think she can make some moves, but I think she's just a little too scared for me to move her up right now.
Okay, that's totally fine. I agree with that. Josh. So Josh, I don't think anyone in this game is really coming after him right now.
No, not at all.
I feel like a lot of people feel good about him and respect him. The jury seems to really like him. The only thing is that I think people are starting to get on to the fact that he has an LOS. But
I was just gonna say that. I was like, he just made a couple missteps, or the one misstep where Natalie and Marcelo clocked like, why is he throwing away the importance of the LOS? So he kind of showed his cards there.
Yeah.
Because before he's been holding them close to his chest, but as soon as he was like, no, let's not worry about that. It's like, he's never acted like that ever. Why is he acting like this? This is so out of character for Josh. So I was like, he was doing so good until that one moment when he was like, don't worry about that, just do it.
This is a really mean comparison, and I'm not calling him like a serial killer or anything, but I was just watching. Did y'all hear about the story of there was a Colorado mom that was pregnant, and her and the 2 kids were killed by the father. When they were at first investigating him, they had him as a prime suspect because in his day-to-day life he was described as being more shy and timid and to himself. But then when it was brought up, like the killing or whatever, and they were like, what were you doing? And they were questioning him. He was getting all panicked and like crazy and like being like, I don't want to talk about it. So like,
I think Josh is a serial killer.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
but
it's
Josh
also
was giving that vibe.
No, he's talking about erratic behavior when you're trying to hide something.
Yes.
Yeah, and also what you folks that are like that just have a little bit of, I don't want to say like not normal, just like that just don't exhibit like A to B, B to C linear emotions necessarily. Like we'll always say like, this is how I think I'm supposed to act, and then kind of get into this whole like tizzy with that. So it could be that like he's like, yeah, I'm just supposed to act aloof, and I'm supposed to like throw the scent off of me. But and I think that's also a reason why poor guy.
I know does he? I don't think he handles adversity well.
Because, well, no, we knew that,
Because even the first round, like, I mean, maybe he does to an extreme because he did get Brent to vote with him. I don't think we've seen the full picture of Josh as a player yet. Not yet.
No,
but the picture so far, I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I'm
hang it in my house. Put it on the fridge.
So where do we want Josh at?
I think over Natalie, right? Like I think
I was gonna say, at least ahead of Natalie, but not B just yet.
Okay. Right?
Yeah. I would have moved him up if he didn't basically expose
if the LOS thing did not happen. I would have
he was about to get moved to B, honestly, if that's literally the only thing. But
yeah, that is the only thing keeping him down right now.
If we see that there's no like repercussions from this, then like he's going,
and he'll move up.
Yes.
So Billy. She is in full recovery mode right now because of the last time we saw her, it was just really bad. Like she was doing well until you get to the ceremony where she didn't do too hot. But this episode, she got Muna back. She's still good with Josh. The only issue is she's not on good terms with Jacob. She is on iffy terms with Natalie.
Yeah.
And Spencer and her don't work well together. So, she has allies, but it's not to the best extent right now.
Yeah.
Her allies aren't not like really in power positions either. So I want to keep her where she's at, but I'm going to be honest, if she's in the same position next week and she loses an ally like Muna, because honestly, if you're asking me, I think it's either Muna or Spencer leaving next round. I think Billy could be dropped down to a D. I do think that.
Yeah, I think, because all she has is Josh, really.
And
Muna. I don't see Josh making big moves like the rest of the allies would. So it wouldn't really be anything to protect her at this point.
Natalie wants her at 6.
Exactly. I think her and Natalie need each other more than they're both actually understanding, because if them two get together, there's actually an interesting moment because Josh gets pulled into that, and then I don't know that Jacob does, but maybe they get in a Brendan, and actually that foursome. And the others can almost pick each other off at that point, whatever. But I just wish they realized they needed each other more than they currently do.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if Billy should be ahead of Natalie.
Yeah, that's what.
So I think Natalie has. I don't think anyone's coming after Natalie.
I think Natalie's in a slightly better position right now because
I think she's allied with like Jacob, and like again, no one's coming for her.
And
it's
she knows
interesting.
where she stands. I don't think Billy does, basically.
And
I think
yeah.
to me is the biggest issue.
And Natalie hasn't been throwing votes. Natalie has just been like actually like voting with intention.
Yes.
Whereas Billy was throwing her votes for a really long time until this round where it was like, well, I can't be dragged into a battle. So she actually voted with intention.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Throwing her vote.
It's interesting if you look at it because Natalie and Billy are going to be like they're like right now they're positioned right next to each other.
Yeah.
They're honestly like what they're both in an alliance with Josh separately. They're
Yeah.
both coming after each other. Like they're low key playing the same game. Like their other big ally like Billy has Muna, Natalie has Jacob. They're honestly playing almost like the same game, just in two different
Yeah.
sides of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean. Spencer, he's going to stay there. But Muna, lastly, Muna. So where do we feel about Muna? Honestly, so I feel like as much as I like the speech she did, I don't know if she needed to like publicly call out Spencer. Like I think she could have did it to like tell Billy like, yeah, I'm still coming for Spencer, but like I think she should have been attempted to be fake in that situation, only because Spencer is obviously going to just keep getting voted in the bottom, and if he needs to pick someone, that's easy pickings for him.
Honestly, the one thing in her speech that I don't think we touched on too much was the fact that she was like, I've been in the jury and the jury doesn't respect a majority of your games, so you guys need to step it up. So like I think that's might have scared some people to start actually playing a little bit more, you know what I mean? So you know,
I mean,
like, I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I also hope that she lies about jury. Like, be like, this is actually what jury's thinking, but you know, whatever helps her game in that moment. Because I think the jury, I mean, if I was voting for her, I'd be like, wow, that's smart. I like it. Because again, like I said, her biggest Achilles heel is Jacob. And her trusting Jacob, because I think besides that, I don't know where I would put her, because there's unfortunately a lot of holes for her. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily just her, but I just want to see how she does next episode. Like, will she be a little bit I don't know if calmer is the right word, but like fake. Yeah, a little bit more fake, to just not get dragged, basically. That's the only reason. But I don't think that's her game, and I respect that too, and that's why we like her. So I'm not sure where, but
I almost want to put her behind Josh.
I was actually thinking that exactly.
I was going to suggest that too.
Yeah, because I think that like she obviously doesn't come back into the game in like the same spot or area where she used to be, especially because of the whole Jacob situation and like her relationship or lack thereof with Spencer. But I think that still like she has people who generally like her in this game, and I think that she has some relationships she can mend, and she had that conversation with Marcelo, and Josh really wants to work with Muna, so I do think that like she has a bit more promise than some people in the house right now. But I also don't know what next round will be like, especially considering she won't be safe anymore. She does have the LOS though, so she does have a little bit of a safety blanket if she does feel like she's in danger.
Okay. Well, that's the podcast, everybody. I'm gonna give my friends here some self-plug. So Geneva, what you getting into?
So I am still currently in Survivor Syracuse Season 2, Snakes and Secrets. That is going well. Episode 10 just aired on YouTube on Thursday. It's fun. There's a superlative episode. We find I'm the most secretly hated, which probably for some people in the Sequester community is quite surprising. But I also make Survivor Syracuse history by my idol finding. So be sure to check out that episode to find out what happens and the chaos and the tension between in this merged tribe at Final 9. And you can follow me at Peace Love Jen for more updates. I tweet about shows and talk Sequester and a bunch of other things. So yeah, just follow me for more content.
All right. And Dylan, how about you?
Well, y'all can follow me at Dylan Does on both Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, pretty much everywhere at Dylan Does with a Z. I'm going to be doing live streaming of games and making. I actually am almost done writing my first YouTube video, which is a 5 fun facts about me. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And starting in late January, the All-Star game of my season, I Love Money All-Stars, is going to begin, and it'll be live streamed every other day on my channel. So it'll be a lot of fun, and you may see some people that you recognize. So yeah.
All right, how about you, Sasha? What's going on with you?
Yeah, you can also follow me at funsize_04 on Twitter. I also tweet a lot about reality TV. I'm on podcasts sometimes. My 90 Day Fiance with Rob has a podcast just came out. Let me know what you think. But yeah, just follow me on Twitter where I just talk mad shit. We love it.
Big sports fan too. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
And Janelle, what are you getting into? I've been seeing you into Among Us and all that.
Yeah, so I've been very heavy into streaming lately. So I usually stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Sundays are my Among Us streams, and those are always really fun, 7 p.m. Eastern. My one yesterday was a Disney one. I painted myself purple, so I look like Ursula, and it was insane, and I'm still finding purple all over my body. So eventually we'll all get out. But yeah, mostly streaming at Coder Girl Chen on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram. So hit me up. I don't tweet about reality TV. I tweet about really stupid things like eating ramen for breakfast. So you can watch that or when I'm streaming, but whatever. And I play in a lot of orgs. So yeah, check it out.
And you can follow me, 8-Ball Bangers, literally everywhere. Mine is here. I might change my YouTube name, honestly. Anyway. Yeah, I do Tierlist. We stream. We doing all this stuff. We active over here. Everyone has their own thing going on. So check everyone out. So we will see you guys next week. Check out on my Twitter, and I'll give you guys a release date of the next podcast because we don't know yet. We have a very special guest that will be introducing sometime within the week. We have so many guests coming up. It's going to be lit. So, until then, we will see you guys later. Have a very good night. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.